When I think about Google, I think about one of, if not the best, software company available. Because they're pretty damn good at software. And the Google Pixel has always been a place for Google to put all of that incredible software. And that's exactly what it is. And the cameras on the Pixel 5 are no exception to that. However, does all of that incredible, crazy software make the Google Pixel 5's cameras stack up to the big guys? That's the question. Now, in this day and age, 2021, whatever phone you put in your pocket is probably going to take incredible photos. There's no doubt about that. But there's always been something very interesting when it comes to the Google Pixel because of all of that incredible, crazy software. And the proof that Google has just made some incredible advancements when it comes to software is the camera on the Pixel 5. Because the sensor that is in this camera, behind those lenses, the sensor that's actually capturing the image, is the same exact sensor from the Pixel 2. 4 phones ago, 4 years ago. Now you compare that to companies like Apple and Samsung. Every year they come out with a new phone, it's got a new sensor, new hardware, bigger sensor, better sensor in low light. All this new hardware for the new phone, whereas Google is using the same sensor from 4 phones ago, and every year just tweaking that software just a little bit to continue to get photos that are just as good, if not better, in certain situations than the iPhone, than the Samsung phones. And that is just incredible. Once you snap that shutter button and you look in that camera app, you look at that photo, you wait for it to process a little bit, that photo comes to life, so to speak, it looks so good. Now, there is a processing time. However, I've seen a lot of people complaining about the processing time of the photos on the Pixel 5. So, the Pixel 5 is running a Snapdragon 765G chip, which by definition is a mid-range level chip. It's not that crazy powerful. And Google also took the neural core out of the Pixel 5, which helped with processing time for photos. So, when you take a photo, and then you go look at it in the app, there is a little bit of a wait time. The photo's kind of blurry, and then it comes to life, like I said. But I've timed it. I've counted it on multiple different occasions. The time that it takes is going to depend on the situation, the lighting, the photo that you're actually taking. But it has never been over 3 seconds. And I don't see a situation where that's going to be a problem. It's not like someone's holding a gun to your head saying, take this photo and send it or post it right now. You have 1 second. That situation is just not going to happen. So if you can't wait 3 seconds max for a photo to process that you just took, probably not the phone for you, and maybe you should, think about your life a little bit. So let's take a look at a few photos here with the Pixel 5. These are just some photos that I've snapped just for the sake of this video. So this photo is a photo that I took in my driveway yesterday. The sun was straight on this area of my yard, and you can see this is a perfect example of where that amazing software and computational photography stuff comes into play. Now, computational photography isn't something that Google is reinventing the wheel with. Apple is doing that very, very well on their phones, but Google is also doing it very well here. So you can see the detail in the shadows and the highlights of the snow. The snow isn't blown out even though that sun was beating right on it. My car is lit just enough. That wall isn't blown out. The sky up in the top of the photo is completely, perfectly exposed. The houses are exposed. Everything is perfectly exposed. And to get a photo like that, even though it's not a great photo, to get a photo like that with my camera, with my mirrorless Canon M50, would be very, very difficult to do. The sky would be blown out or the snow would be blown out. I'd have to choose between one of those. And that isn't anything that is specific to the Google Pixel. Most phones are doing this crazy computational photography stuff that when you snap that shutter button, it's taking thousands of images all at once without you even realizing and compiling them all together to get you the best possible image. And this is just a true example of what Google's doing with that. Here's a couple other examples of that same situation. This is a photo that is pointing straight at the sun, which is something that you would never really do while taking photos. This is just a true representation, pointing the camera straight at the sun and just seeing what the Google Pixel can do. Now, it's obviously not a perfect image, but you can still see the exposure in the sky. I mean, it's a little overexposed right where the sun is, but that's to be expected out of anything. And if I were to take this same exact photo with my M50, the entire sky would be blown out, or the entire snow down below would be blown out. So that's just another really great example of that computational photography and that incredible software going to work on the Pixel 5. You do have your night mode and your portrait mode on the Pixel 5, which you do have on other phones, but when it comes to portrait mode, I do think that the Pixel 5 has kind of been the best when it comes to portrait mode on a phone for a while now. Not that the other phones don't do it well, but the Pixel 5 does it really well, especially when it comes to that cutout around the subject. So the part that's actually blurry in the image, the cutout around your head or your body or whatever you're taking a photo of, is pretty damn good on the Pixel 5. Now there's obviously some moments like this right here where in the darker part of the image you can see that it didn't really cut out around my fingers as well. That's to be expected. No phone is perfect when it comes to portrait mode. Here's a really good example of how good the portrait mode is on the Pixel 5. This is a photo that I took in my kitchen. Doesn't even really look like me, which is kind of weird, but you can see that the portrait mode did really, really well on this photo, especially around my hair. So usually if you're taking a photo of your dog or someone that's got messy hair or curly hair or her hair kind of going all over the place like mine is, usually the top part of the hair would be blurry. The phone wouldn't have been able to cut around that. And this photo right here is a perfect example of when the portrait mode works well. It works really well. Obviously, if you look really, really close, you'll see a couple little spots where it didn't do that great. But just looking at this photo as a whole, it's a pretty damn good example of the portrait mode on the Pixel 5. Like I said, you do have night mode on the Pixel 5, which is pretty damn good as well, as it is on other phones, but this is a kind of an over-exaggerated example of the night mode. This area in my backyard right here does not have any light when it's dark outside. It is pitch black. There's no light going back there. When I took this photo, when I was looking at my phone, it was just a black screen. So that kind of shows you what you can do with the night mode if you needed to take a photo in a dark situation. This is obviously, like I said, an over-exaggerated example. I don't think you'd really be taking a photo in complete pitch black darkness, but if you needed to, you would definitely be able to see what you were trying to take a photo of. And this isn't a photo that I would edit and post on Instagram or anything like that, but if it was something that I needed to take a photo of, this would work perfectly fine. So this is another example of night mode when it's a little bit of a better situation. This is a photo that I took last night of my little dude, Ollie, sleeping on the couch. The only thing lighting up the living room last night was the TV. So there was a pretty good source of light coming into the living room, but the entire room was pretty much dark. I mean, this wall up here was definitely not as bright as it is in this photo. The couch was definitely darker. You know, it just had that TV light on it. So this is a pretty good example. This is a photo that I probably could edit and make look pretty good and post onto Instagram. So that's just a more appropriate example of the night mode and probably how you would actually use it. None of the photos that I showed in this video were edited at all. They're straight out of the camera, but here's a couple examples of some photos that are edited just so you can kind of get an idea of if you don't have a camera but you want your photos to look pretty good, if you want to just use this for photography. Here's just some examples of some of the photos coming out of the Pixel 5 with some edits on top of them to make them a little bit more spicy. So there's one more thing about the cameras on the Pixel 5 that I did not talk about in this video, and I'm not going to talk about it in this video because I do want to make a separate video about this feature because it is probably my favorite feature, not just of the cameras, but of the phone in general, and I'm really excited about it, and it has to be the perfect conditions outside for me to make that video and for me to show you that feature. So we're going to talk about that soon. I'm really pumped about that, so look forward to that. For now, that's pretty much it. Just wanted to share with you guys some photo examples, talk about the cameras on the Pixel 5. I really like them as somebody that creates a lot with my phone, uses my phone a lot for photos and video, stuff like that. I really like it. I think everybody will like it, and that's pretty much it. So I'm glad you're here. I love you. Stay happy, stay healthy, stay safe. Make something.